another big moment for the Canadian Premier League. You can say for the Canadian soccer community as well. That will be, Jordan Wilson, Cavalry's debut in continental competition. They get their Champions Cup campaign underway against Orlando City at Starlight Stadium. It will be a 8 p.m. Mountain Time start for the CAV supporters who can't make it because it's a Wednesday night and we have to work, but we understand all the things that are going on and why that match is being played there. But this is the last chance now, all of a sudden, Jordo, for Canada to do something for their club teams in this competition. Obviously, tough draws for Forge and Whitecaps, but they're both out. They won't be in the round of 16. So it all comes down to Tommy Wheeldon Jr. and his group. We're optimists here generally on the show, except for the Canada Soccer off-field drama. We know where Gareth Wheeler stands. I'm not with the head shake. But other than that, very optimistic, the four of us here. Give me one reason why you think the Cavs will advance through this two-legged series.
Ooh. I could give like one reason kind of blended into two. I will say because it's the first match of the season for both of these guys. And I think that preseason, you never fit. I know for me, it was around game 3 or 4 where you actually feel like, yeah, I can run 12K. I can get to where I need to. The first little bit, you're still kind of, getting your legs under you. So I think that benefits Cavs enormously in this first match. And then I'm sure with the pitch as well, this is going to be something that they've played on a majority of time, a ton of times in the past 5 years. And it's also just a bit smaller. So that movement, it's a bigger thing. You don't have to close out someone 10 yards. Maybe it's only 7. So I really feel like that will benefit them in this first leg. And it's just really about that start. If they can get a good start, they can dream.
Gareth Wheeler.
A couple things stand out to me. First off, from the Orlando City perspective, really good team. They qualified for this tournament by finishing runners-up in the Supporters' Shield in Major League Soccer last week. But their underlying numbers weren't that great. They completely overachieved when it comes to their expected goal differential. They're only a plus 1.4, which was 14th best in Major League Soccer. Yeah, this was a team that went on and picked up 63 points along the way. So the process wasn't always there. So I think they did overachieve last year. They made some big changes or some significant changes. Their captain Pereira, he's gone. Maguire stays randomly because Orlando City Blackburn switched up the save versus send off, which is wild. So that's kind of a negative against Cavalry here. And as for the Cavs, they kept the core group, their best players together. They kept Musi. They kept Klomp. They added to it. Gutierrez is ready to go. You can make an argument that this team even looks stronger. This was the best team in the Canadian Premier League. They're motivated, playing in a familiar place for the first leg, whereas Orlando City is not. In Orlando City, playing Wednesday, their MLS opener Saturday, then playing again on Tuesday, they're going to have to manage their squad over these first 3 games as well. So those would be the reasons, and I think they're good reasons why you can back Cavalry to at the very least be competitive here of these 2 legs.
Ollie, what would you like to add?
I think it's going to be really tough. I'm not buying the XG nerd stuff that Wheels likes. I think
nerd stuff.
Just felt
like the one self-proclaimed one soccer analyst.
I think defensively their underlying numbers were really good. It was that they overperformed their attacking ones quite significantly, which was the difference there. And I just kind of feel like part of that is they have some really good players who maybe finish at a better rate than a lot of MLS teams do. And they've also added to those players, and most notably with Luis Muriel. So I think it's going to be really, really difficult. What I like about this Cavalry team and what I think gives them a chance beyond the first game of the season stuff, which is valid, is that they just have attacking players who can hurt teams. Like I think Ali Musi can have a difference-making moment in this game and in this tie. Like I believe in that player as the type of player who can have an impact against this level of opposition and maybe play at that kind of level in the future. William Akio is a massive transition threat. You know that if you can get him going when the other team's overcommitted a little bit, he can hurt teams. You look at the depth of talent they've got up front. Camargo, Bevan, Warshevsky, Brooks, Henry, Diaz. Like there's going to be players in the starting lineup and off the bench that can contribute and can make an impact in this tie. So I think any team like Cavalry in this kind of situation is just looking for a moment, looking to keep it pretty tight and pretty solid and then capitalize when they can. And I think they got the players that have the potential to be able to do that, maybe a bit more than Forge did at this time of year.
And we know that Cavalry had their triumphant first CPL side to beat a Major League Soccer club. But what will be unique here, Gareth, is this is going to be the first time we see any CPL side against an American Major League Soccer outfit. I think when you get the CPL club versus a Liga MX, for example, you're almost shocked as the neutral or the supporter at the disparity between the levels and all of that. Major League Soccer, and for all the reasons you point out, Orlando, a very good MLS side, doesn't have the same shock value, but it still presents this opportunity, because if the Cavs can go on and win the first leg, advance through this tie and make some noise, that brings a big spotlight to the CPL and what's going on here north of the border. Do you think that this could be a type of watershed moment if things go well for the Cavs?
Could be. It could very well. This is kind of what you want to see. I think people like us and people that watch the Canadian Premier League understand the talent that's there and how good this league is and what kind of opportunity it's giving to Canadian players. I think that because the league is only 5 years old, like widespread notoriety across this region isn't quite there yet, which is fine. It takes time to grow. It takes ties like this in order to establish something. That's why this is so vitally important. Guess what? Orlando City is not going to have a couple thousand fans at Starlight Stadium this week, like what was last week for Vancouver Whitecaps and Tigres. So I think that's just more of a fair comparable and one that we want to see. CPL sides and how they fare against MLS American sides. I think that'll be a really good test, a litmus test to see how far the Canadian Premier League has come already. Understanding the payrolls are like polar opposites. They're not even close. And Orlando City, guys, they won the U.S. Open Cup a couple of years ago. Last year in the Leagues Cup, there was 1-1, and they lost on an away goal to Tigres. So this is a good team in knockout competition. So hopefully a competitive couple of fixtures for Cavalry will really have people stand up and take notice.
This is just such an amazing opportunity as well for players. Like, obviously that goes without saying, but you play these type of games, this is when moves could be made. But you also just have to remember for the Cavalry players that play within your role. Don't do anything special. This is still just another game. But if you can play at the top of that game, like if you're a right back and you're bombing forward and you're shutting things down, play at the top. You can put yourself on the map. I've seen it happen so many times, and it just changes your life. 2 games, but just going out and doing well. So you hope for the best.
Right. Like we see Pamanuka, like he's still an assistant coach in Major League Soccer. Coaches have moved on. The Watermans of the world, players have moved on, but a good performance really could open the door to even more credibility and more movement between leagues. So, and that's what we all inevitably want to see, which helps Canadian soccer players get more of a chance and more of an opportunity.
I mean, I personally can't wait to see Eric Hobbs defending Nicolas Ladero for Facundo Torres. That's going to be a brilliant sight to see what the young man can do. Ollie, here's an interesting one for you. Because of all of the reasons we outlined, the fact that there's that fixture congestion, the fact that it is a BC winter right now, which means single-digit temps and rain a lot of the times. For Orlando City, what do you think is the tougher matchup? Is it their MLS season opener against Montreal at the weekend, or is it going to be this match with Cavalry?
Great question. I wonder who came up with it. I look, speaking personally, if the professional footballer that I am, sitting on a plane from Orlando to Vancouver Island, playing in the colds and in the rain. It's always raining out there. I love it on Vancouver Island.
2 flights,
it's always raining. 2 flights. Like, I don't know. I think there's a case to be made playing at home in that nice stadium of theirs against Montreal. Montreal maybe going to take a little bit of time to get going. Can a case be made? I'm not saying otherwise.
Jordo.
I'll simply say, from someone who has traveled from East Coast to West Coast, dreadful. Look, with the first training, your back's tight. You have to do yoga for 20 minutes just to get warmed up. Granted, I was a vet in the league. I'm an older player, 28, 29. It takes work to get ready. I would say that this test on Wednesday, it might be marginally harder than it would be playing at home against Montreal. I'm with Ollie.
I don't know. Your second game, it's complicated. Which players are going to make that trip if you leave some players home for that MLS first game of the season, where a lot of eyeballs, a lot of expectations playing at home? We'll go with the CF Montreal game, but the 3 games in their entirety, very, very difficult.
Well, with our friends from TonyBet, let's put some numbers on how difficult this might just be for the Cavs. It's time for our top picks. So here we go, Gareth Wheeler. Tony Bet has the lines out for this Concacaf Champions Cup tie. Let's start with just the outright. Cavalry plus 330, Orlando minus 152, and the draw at plus 300. What tempts you?
The draw plus 300. I don't typically bet draws. I bet Cavalry on the handicap going into this game because I do think they can keep it close. I have a better feel for the total, to be honest with you, but for these purposes, let's side with the draw, the split the difference.
More on the total in a minute. Jordan Wilson in the match. Who do you take?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the draw as well. I can't really go with a win for the Cavs just yet. But I could see this being a 1-1, maybe even a 2-2 draw, to be honest.
Oliver Platt, come on, be bold.
I'm not going to be bold. I think Cavalry has a chance in this game, no question about it. But a minus 152, I think Orlando is the more likely winner here by a fair distance.
All right, we're going to get just over or under from the lads. The over is at minus 112, the under at minus 129. Gareth, you said you had a hunch.
Well, more than a hunch. Out of the 10 games that have been played in this competition already, 8 have had 3 goals or more. So let's side about the way things have been trending and take the over.
Jordan Wilson.
I'm going to go with the over as well. I think it's 2-2, and I think Akio scoring and Musi. Just throwing that out there.
Oliver Platt, over under 3 goals.
Under, so if they're wrong, I'm right.
Take the push. I'm pretty sure 4 of the last 5 games Cavalry played ended 2-1. I'd like a 2-1 win for the Cavs tomorrow. That's it for us today. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you all very soon here on One Sport.